This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is day one of Fanime Con 2022 recap summary. When I do the slideshow later, I will say something different than what I say here. So, sort of like what I did with the Bacon, but not so much. Not Bacon. Sort of like what I did with the Adamacon in 2019. Whereas the slideshow was different, say different things, right? So, yeah, just change it up a little. Okay, so I have one con swag from one of the artists. It is Ang writing Appa. Yeah, and it's a representation of Appa, the bison. The cute bison, which Avatar of the last Airbender wasn't technically anime, but it's imitating anime. There was really nobody like macro. There were a lot of people from the newer stuff that I'm totally not familiar with walking around. Including answering a fan comment on a person from 2019 that commented on their costume was featured in the video, and adding them 3 years later. I don't know, but yeah, I'll go into like the particulars of these events and what commencement at San Jose State was going on when I went over to visit San Jose State, and there was mention of the event center, San Jose Event Center in San Jose, and the Prince concert, the artist formerly known as Prince concert. And the gag there was that Mark's Cards and I were at the artist formerly known as Prince concert. So it wasn't Prince, it was the artist formerly known as Prince. So just, we didn't get in. We didn't sneak in. We claimed we did, but and the journal indicates we did, but it was more like, oh, we're standing near the event center listening to it up on the thing. It wasn't really sneaking in, no. But it sounded better in the journal. Sneaking in, yeah. No, they didn't. And Mark's Cards don't even remember doing it at all. That was in the 90s. Yeah, so. Oh yeah, the Togo's is gross. The Togo's over there is gross. The tea place next door is okay. They've changed hands at the tea place again. It's some other place now. Yeah, but it kind of acts like a Quickly. It acts like what came after it. They decided to have it there, not at the other place. It was the event center. Maybe there weren't as many students because of the graduating because of the COVID or something. They were able to pull it off. They didn't tear down both of those halls on the side, it turns out. They just tore down the big field and moved the AS house, the old AS house, somewhere else, so they could build a tower next to the other two buildings. They tore down something, but it wasn't directly Sweeney Hall. They renamed the Query Lowry Hall. Lynn Lowry years ago. I don't know why, but okay. I didn't know. I didn't know that particular Lori. I was thinking of a different person. Yeah, it's a different person. That they wouldn't have named it the other Professor Lori because that wouldn't have made sense. She wasn't there that long. That wasn't her. They named it after somebody else. Yeah, there were. It started out before the 2 o'clock hour when things actually started. People started to stream in, and there were hundreds of people. 600, 800 people were about. It got more crowded. It started to get pretty packed. The line con actually wasn't there when I first arrived, and I went right in. But the line cons were there afterward by 11:30. There were line cons forming outside. Kitty Key, Cowpoke and Kitty Key were the characters. Cowpoke was first, and actually he wasn't there at all. The appeared briefly pseudo Kitty Key later on. But only in the noon hour. So, Martial Sportist took over. There wasn't a lot of dialoguing and stuff on this particular take, just because it would have been odd for him to stop and start talking randomly about shit. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, somebody did leave their stuff at a table, and I drank one of them uchai tea, itchai teas. It wasn't the oolong version. It was the other version, like Thai tea or something. Yeah, it didn't have pot or nothing in it. Well, they couldn't do the band, so they made the band thing karaoke. Some people did karaoke that was rather awful. Some of it was okay, but they kept saying don't make fun of them. I didn't, but yeah, some of it was pretty bad. Why don't you do Macross 7 and do the song from... It's like, I would destroy that song if I did the American version of that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do Firebomber. I'm not going to do that. But I thought about it for a few seconds, and then thought, they're not. They won't even get it. It'd be like, oh, that guy's really old. 90s or something. Oh, and the panels were hard to find, because apparently the other help didn't know where things were. You go downstairs and they'd be, oh, we don't know where that is. It's upstairs. And it was actually hidden in the alcove in the where they had Crunchyroll movies. That's where the panels are. So, well, that next time, tomorrow, they're going to be down there in the Crunchyroll section, which is now owned by Sony, so they would call it Sony instead of Crunchyroll. There were quite a few heavy-set people there, because the co-ed, they couldn't get out, exercise. There were quite a few skinny people too. Quite a few very scantily clad that were not filmed, because so YouTube won't flag us. But yes, so yeah, but yeah, so no, Fanime, but I was calling it Comic-Con, it's Fanime. But yeah, the artist alley was odd because they turned the lights down, except for the back part where the sun was coming in. That was probably only, so the lights were turned down, so you kind of couldn't tell what you were looking at, which was funny. The artist alley, they're gonna have to fix that tomorrow. Also, yeah, they didn't want people taking pictures in there, so, which for some stuff is understandable, for others is not. If they're just like trinkets and things, and you want to take a picture of the trinkets. They're not going to be able to take cell phone pictures and steal their prints or something. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So, also there was the consent costuming is not consent policy is stricter. But the mask policy, everybody's masked up because of the COVID. So everybody's got a mask. You sometimes can't tell if they said yes or not. So yeah, or no or not. So you have to wait for the nonverbal that isn't there because their mouth is covered. So, yeah. But I suppose if they walk away, then get their picture. Yeah. So yeah. At the end of the con, I went to a panel called contrary opinion in anime, where basically it was a Q&A that would have been similar to mine, and it would have been a Q&A, and basically people went up and said their contrary opinion, kind of thing. They did not go into politics. They said they did not go into hate speech. They didn't. They pulled these rules before they went up there, and mentioned several animes that were not that some people, I assume, liked. About half the time, the opinion wasn't contrary, and the other audience agreed. They kept mentioning this one anime that apparently everybody thought sucked. So that wasn't a contrary opinion. It was no. They all thought it sucked. And there was this other one that had like an earlier version of the anime that was better than in the 90s than it was in the 2010s. And, so better in the 90s than it was in 2000 in the 2010s. I think it's the same one. Hunter x Hunter was the name of it. I never heard of it. I've heard of Vampire Hunter D, but I bet they haven't. I heard old school stuff, so I didn't mention anything. I could have mentioned that. Could have gone up there and said, "Okay, here's a contrary opinion. The American version of Robotech isn't superior to the Japanese version because Rick Hunter doesn't get left behind. He's not even in the Japanese." But they probably would have agreed with that, so I didn't ask him. I didn't say that because I figured they'd probably know that. In the Japanese version of Massive Beta, New Generation, Massive Beta, Space Glamour, yeah, there is no cliffhanger at the end because they weren't related, and Hunter's Expedition wasn't there. So yeah, it was funny at that negative opinions in the anime panel when they addressed the bizarre relationships and soap opera nature of anime. And how sometimes they'll have like a really old 50-something dude and a 25-year-old girl in it. Or sometimes it'll be, a lot of time it'll be set in high school where they have powers. And then some of them don't, depending on whether they're main characters or not. If they're just side characters, they're interchangeable. Yeah. But that's not a contrary view, though. That's what they do. So that's not a contrary view. So, they're very much like a soap opera. Tenchi Muyo from back in the 90s was very much a soap opera. It's a love triangle thing. Macross was kind of a soap opera too. Not so much. A little bit in the second one, Southern Cross. Not so much in the third one, Generation. Cowboy Bebop was kind of a soap opera, but an action one. Yeah, so... But not the Netflix one. They mentioned that. I didn't see the Netflix one, so I don't know how bad it is. But yeah, so yeah, the Fanime so far, and when I left, there were thousands more trying to lining up to go in the lines. I think part of the problem with the line thing, though, is that they don't explain to the ones that already have a ticket. There's a sign like right there that said there should have been a sign or other people walking back and forth saying you don't have to get into the 3 lines to get into the building if you've already got a ticket. You can just go in through the side door. There should be a sign that says that because I think a lot of those people are waiting in that line to get in. They don't have to. They can go in. Because once you got one of these badge, you know, putting in some gigantic new building near San Jose State where the thing was. Oh, then they tore down that theater. You'll see it in the previews here. There's a Century 12 theater where they played the John Waters movies, and the last thing they played was Boyhood in 2012. It was open for about 10 years. They used to do CineQuest there, the local cinema, our version of cons. CineQuest, basically. Yeah, our version of cons in San Jose. And a con festival, you know. Cons, it's French. C-A-N-N-E-S. Cons. Or con, perhaps. So this is a commentary on day one, commenting mostly on destroyed building, that they're rebuilding is something else. It's like, the building was originally another building that they rebuilt into it, so they're tore it down to the superstructure and they're messing around inside it. But it's still the same, basically the same building, I think. There was nothing going on in the hotel. Yeah. That's a commentary on day one, pretty much. I'm going to go and watch the slideshow now and to comment on that. Day one, so far, is Friday, usually half a day, really. So, yeah, nothing much happened. I took the Uber. I chased the Uber on the way out, down the road. Chased the yes. He didn't stop right. I don't want to say it wrong because I might be saying something dirty, and know, yeah. Anyway, next up, so yeah, that's my review. I don't want to watch the slideshow and say different things. So this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster. This is day 2 of Fanime Con 2022, and show the con swag right away. It's a con swag, the swagger, the con swag. Here's the con shirt. They were running out of them. So. Con shirt. Looks like a retro sort of picture. Sort of discotheque picture. Alright, so the slideshow will be different from the family yet again. So this is going to be stuff that's not on the slideshow discussion. Okay, yeah. Elaborate more on the events that passed by on the thing, including a slightly dirty lens in the beginning of that. Yeah. So when it arrived there, Silly Kelly and Kimchi, MC Kimchi, also known as Jane Piedmont, she was actually there. Silly Kelly was going in drag as Kimchi, and he was Hira. He called himself Hira, Princess of Power, but he did not have falsies. But the shirt was kind of bunched up, sort of like he could. So he had no cheater. It was funny. But as the Kal Kat Hira song goes, for the honor of love, for the power of lust, he has the power. He has the power. Ooh, Hira. Hira. Psst. He is Hira, and then he says at one point that fabulous secret powers were revealed him the day he held aloft his magic cock and said, "By the power of Gay Skull." And Gay Skull is not a skull, but a butt, a goatsy going like this. It's a big butt mountain. It's got goatsy. Seems more appropriate to be the enemy of Snake Mountain. And Hira has a magic dildo. But actually, what Hira has in this case is a magic foxtail as his sword. I did go to the peace bonded table, and I said, "Do I need to peace bond this?" And they're all, "No, don't need to do that. It's not a weapon." Yes, that's the foxtail from 3 years ago. So at one point as well, the Hira, Princess of Power, had the bright colored shiny shirt. Hira was Lady Gaga basically, and yeah, shiny shirt. Tomorrow there will be a different furry. There will be an Eeyore furry. Today there was a sort of a Chewbacca Kal Kat Teddy Ruxpin furry for about maybe 2 hours. It was way too hot in that thing. Yes. But there were thousands more people in the crowd, and there was constant communication. Mom who wanted to know about baseball games and stuff, so there was it was kind of hard to do, to go anywhere other than the convention. Early on, there was the Boulogne de Bijon. It's probably pronounced Bijon because the N is probably silent because it's French. The Bijon. I keep saying Boujon, but it's not. It's Bijon. That was going to be breakfast, but I was waiting in there so long because there was a long line of all kinds of costume people in there. Half of the costumes of which, more than half of which, I don't know who they were. For a full 45 minutes, I should have given up because it was basically lunch for breakfast. That's how long I was in there. So I missed out on one of the panels, and I had to make up for it. So I went to one of the legacy panels from one of the guests. That was there, a voice actress from Senta Young, I think is the name. Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Voice actor panel. I have no idea what show. Happened to mention the, let's see, panel. Xanthe. Oh yeah, that's pronounced right. So for some reason, Xanthe Huya, yeah, Q&A. She was one of the guests. Definitely, she has a very distinct voice, so I've definitely heard her in stuff. Like American dubs of anime over the years. Different things. I've definitely heard that voice before. Very distinct. Mostly a Q&A, mostly people asking how to get into business, whatever. And any number of them asking about whatever current show she's working on. And then some of them actually saying in the commentary, so is there an NDA or something where I can't say anything? Or you can't say anything? And her answer was, yes, there is, so I can't say anything. In a high, squeaky voice. No, I can't tell you. There's an actual NDA for that one. Nope, not going into that. Anyway, so, yeah, because I'll get in trouble. She mentioned that there was an NDA about a tennis series, a baseball series too, the anime series. Of course, I love the tennis. Where she had an NDA at the time when doing the show, and could only talk about it after Nintendo was finished with it. It was a game, I guess. Yeah. And then she could. But she really didn't say much about it. She didn't give any details. She said I was voice actor in it. A very extremely shy fan asked about how to improve their voice talent to be a voice actor. Very shy person. Well, good for the very shy person. However, I'm thinking like, well, if you're that camera shy, maybe, or if you're that, I don't know, maybe it works for some people. If voice acting, some people have stage fright, so maybe if she has stage fright being on stage, maybe she's okay in the voice recording booth. Maybe that's what it is. She's probably fine. Stage acting, voice acting, yeah, it's fine. Anyway, somebody always asks the actor how to get in the business. It's like the actor doesn't know that they shouldn't ask those questions. That's a production question. If there's an anime producer, director guy shows up, ask him a question like that. Say, okay, anime director guy, how do you get into business? Say, well, you have to work hard. Go up by your bootstraps. That kind of thing. Whereas if they've asked the right people, if they ask fan art people, fan film stuff, we could have people in it, but we can't pay them. Yeah, so they could have asked that, but no, that would sound very sketchy. Well, we're gonna cast you in this thing, and we're not gonna pay you. Yeah, just come over here and be our slave for a few hours. Be our animated character in our story. Yeah, for free. Yeah, no, don't do that. Slave. Food first because they called it the episode, the Fanime Bon Appetit. And and except for chow lines on one or two of the ends, in the cafeteria, it's cafeteria food. It's not like gourmet food, like that title would imply. And I guess because one of the guests is an anime food concoction person, but that particular person is, I guess, on one side of the thing, and if they're all interested in him, there's a long line in there. Not a chance of Kal Kat getting in there. Not a chance. There was line con all day outside, but we weren't in the line con because we could get in. So, but people were waiting to get in with tickets for this day, each day. They shouldn't do that. They should just pay for the whole thing. If you're coming from out of state or something, just pay for the whole 4 days. Just eat the cost. No. Because you'll be in line all the way through the convention and never get in. Don't do it that way. Also, in the panel Cthulhu for President, they were back. The Cthulhu for President guys from 3 years ago and a year before that, joking about, well, you didn't elect Cthulhu for president, so you kind of made it worse. A picture of Biden with an anime girl or something, and Trump saying "get off my lawn" or something, and yeah, they were basically making fun of everybody. And everybody that asked a question was immediately insulted because that was the panel. That's the way it worked. So it's a humiliation and kink panel. They also mentioned in the guide several Lolita panels, but I'm not going to those. Even though the movie they stole that name from is not what they were thinking when they made up the panels. They were just thinking something a little less innocuous than the movie and the book. They were thinking, sexy girl. That's what they were thinking. Of course, the Japanese are a little odd that way and a little kinky. Somebody should have told them, no, you can't call it that because that sounds like that awful book and movie where that doesn't where that's not cool. Yeah, that's just gross. Don't do that. I'm sure the panels were innocent enough. I didn't go, but yeah, they weren't talking about the movie, the American movie, at all. But yeah, we've been down that road before. Cthulhu panel was interesting, though, in that someone, apparently, a lady, like, in the middle of the whole thing, couldn't stand the excitement and had a seizure, an epileptic-type seizure, and collapsed onto the floor. And down by the guys, and they called it cold blue to the convention, which only happened in one way once before at one of the other conventions. I think it was a 2017 one where somebody got too excited waiting. It was a similar thing. It was heat stroke in that case. Somebody's in that line waiting for the Doug Walker panel, and they passed out because it was heat stroke. Code blue, roar the guy. But that in this case, it was a seizure, which is messed up. So it was really quiet in there for the longest time. The paramedics came in, and they didn't bring in a stretcher or anything, but paramedics and stuff showed up. It was down in the lower floor, so they didn't need to haul her off or nothing. But then the panel started again after everything was okay, and I guess they got to go checked out in the sick bay or whatever stands for their triage, their infirmary, I guess, and then continue the story, unabated to the bizarre. Somebody, hopefully they feel better. It sucks. So, I guess the panel was just too much for her. Wasn't anyone from Pine Hill, was it? I don't know. That would be interesting. There were a couple of people that had the epilepsy at Pine Hill. It'd be interesting if it was one of them. Oh my God, it's Alan. No, or whatever. Like, oh wow. No, I couldn't see who it was. From where I was in the back. So that was strange. It's messed up. Lost the ears toward the end over by the art place. Somebody snatched them up when they fell on the ground. And the wind picked up and they dropped off. I had them on a belt. They fell off the belt. So the ears are gone, but I'll have to get more ears. So I went back to look for more ears. Couldn't find any in there. Maybe we should look in the art part. The art gallery might have them. Somebody might have done ears. So yeah, I'm sure those were made by somebody in it. So yeah, I got to go into the art gallery, crafts person, and see if they're in there and get a pair of ears. To replace them. Oh my. But yeah. So this is continuing on day one. There was another trip to the Boujon. That's after the ears got lost. That was at the end. And yeah, it was another 30 minutes in there. I don't know why I didn't just leave. With no reason to stick around if it was going to take that long. It ended up at Mama's Pizza, which has a New York style pizza with the crust. It was a little too hard, but yeah, it was all right. It was fine. It was fine. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the food. Oh, and the Uber on the way back got lost on Montague, going the other way. Turn around at Milpitas Boulevard. Yeah, even though we had too busy listening to the radio, which was playing club tunes. He was just excited. You know, I don't know why. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much Fanime Day 2. There was some walking around, less pictures. Probably get more pictures tomorrow. There were just so many people crowded in there. At least 15,000. It was a lot. All crowded around in there. The super spreader event, you see. A Fanime. And yeah, so this was day 2. It means we have to do 3 and 4 in order to get about a long 2-hour epic video thing out of it. The slideshow and or at least 90 minutes. The slideshow and the events thingies. Kal Kat's panel, I assume, is tomorrow. Kitty Keys or whatever. But he missed out on the other one on the first day. Yeah. They completely canceled out everything before 3 on the first day of the panels. So, yeah, he doesn't really have a panel, but they don't know that. But he does. I don't know if those Bon Appetit lines are. There are lines there for their snack food, but they're long. There's also outside. There's also hot dog vendors, but I don't know about that. I don't know how long those things have been sitting out there. Yeah, they may not be hot dogs. They may be people. Because in the Cthulhu panel, Cthulhu Eats People, they sort of skirted over the idea that Lovecraft was totally a racist, and he would be all for not only killing and eating everyone, including babies, but he would be for killing and eating all of the primitives first, and people that aren't like him. It's messed up. Because, yeah, the others were a euphemism for anybody that wasn't Lovecraft's race. This messed up. This messed up, Charlie Brown. This messed up. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of silly. Yeah, the con swag. There were swords and of plastic variety and others, but there was nothing that said Hira sword necessarily. Painted a different color or whatever. Nothing that really said that. And yeah. So yeah, we did see the character of Kimchi from Starcrackers who showed up, as well as Carrie from Starcrackers or Silly Kelly. So that was awesome. Yeah. Lost track of her about halfway through. Maybe she went home. But yes, Starcrackers. Oh, so that was interesting. And Cowpoke started in, even though it wasn't supposed to be Cowpoke, about the ears. It's supposed to be Kelly the whole time. Anyway, so I'll do the slideshow. Let us open with Day 3's Con Swag. The Raider Studio, I think that's what it's called, did this Star Trek portrait with the cat ears, because the cat ears are gone. So I had to put the ears back on it in the photo. There's the artwork. There's the thingy here. Let's see. We have dice. Haven't seen these in a long time. There's a dice. I may get some more. They're pretty cheap. so I might get some more tomorrow. Some more dice. And also, I saw either a shirt that said there were two shirts that were possibilities. I ended up with the other one because I didn't have the other one. The other shirt would have said, "I don't know what I'm doing," and it had a little dog at a computer. But this one is also appropriate for the cast and crew of Trans-Tech and Star Trek Chimera and all that, because he's kind of a little anime character, of course. And even though it's an XL, they're small. They run small. So it's an XL in might need this layer. That's awesome. Might need this layer. Yes. It's a little panda. These pandas are awesome. Yeah. So yeah, that's the con swag from today. And there's the outfits and stuff. Tomorrow we're doing this. Tomorrow we're doing this guy. Oh no. But yeah. Maybe one of the other Star Trek outfits too, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably one of the Star Trek outfits. Probably one of the other ones, yeah. So the thingy. Rundown of the thingy. Bathe in darkness. Blah. No. This is Kal Kat, the Calicaster. You are watching Fanime Con commentary track, which will be different from the slideshow track. Slideshow will discuss other things for 20 minutes. This is a commentary track. So we have follow-ups to... we have a follow-up story. The Wario, Mario, and Luigi cast returned. And so actually, they didn't include Luario, the yellow one, but they included the other three. And they refined their sketch so that it was streamlined. But it was also, and they showed fan art, jokey sort of things about Wario taking over various other properties, such as the Studio Ghibli properties and stuff like that. Crunchyroll is dead, so Crunchyroll was taken over by Sony, and they basically changed everything. But made it possible for them to make jokes about Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails having an affair with Wario, because of course, yes. There were a few funny scenes where audience participation occurred. Including one in which they were implying that a couple of times they said that he was with Knuckles. They were intimate. And he kept bragging about his penis. So at one point, he was saying, I said that's what he said. I laughed. Yeah, but and there was another fan in the audience who reminded them of another annoying fan from 3 years ago, and said annoying fan from last 3 years ago showed up at the very end of the panel and said, "Oh, that's the guy from 3 years ago." Yep, was drunk on near beer. One of those. Yeah, it wasn't even beer. It was sugar, I guess. This time I wasn't though. Have anything. Tea, I guess. Yeah, so they moved Burritozilla, or at least I didn't remember where it was. I think they moved it, yeah, because the pizza place is now where the Burritozilla is. The pizza place, Ma's Pizza, was not open in the afternoon. It was closed. But the Burritozilla was. It was an elaborate looking place. I think it used to be where the Philly cheesesteak place was. They moved it, but I'm not sure about that. Maybe the one next door that I'm thinking of. But it was one of those in the three Victorian houses near the campus, down the ways. For lunch, I followed the cast members from various casts down there for lunch. Yeah, after the dance thing that happened It's not on the slideshow, but there was a comment by some of the fans after that mentioned the troubadours and stuff. One of them thought that one of them remembered that because I filmed the dance going on. One of them remembered me and thought that I was in the dance thing, the troubadour thing, and it was like an old one from the before or something, which is impossible because it's from Japan. But anyway, he remembered from several years ago in Fanime. And I said, no, I was just a fan. I just jumped in and got in their act. I'm not troubadour. But yeah, maybe my instructor went to the same school that they went. I don't know. But no, there's no relation. But yeah, no, I didn't do any of the freak dancing. Although it was very similar. You'll see the freak dancing on the slideshow. It's very similar to the stuff I did back in the day. So yeah. Yes. So yeah, it's interesting. The whole thing. The third day was a little longer. The slide. Yeah. It wasn't as exciting as yesterday, and that it wasn't there wasn't a bizarre epileptic spell that someone had and fainted. But the excitement came from other characters acting insane, crazy, and doing stuff more so than it did the other. At the Burrito-Zilla, I didn't pop the top off the Doritos and soda drink and had to go back and get the bottle opener guy. but yeah. Oh, and I didn't mention last episode that at the Ma's Pizza place, the manager / barmaid lady was a very buxomy looking, possibly half Hispanic, half Filipino lady, and dressed in what amounted to a tank top, kind of with an overpull thing going on. Black tank top. Yeah, I just thought I would mention. There were plenty of other people dressed in scantily clad outfits. Yeah. Yesterday there was a princess, sort of a She-Ra, like another She-Ra. There were 2 or 3 of them. And there was a kid one, and there was an adult. A kiddish one, and an adult. I don't think it was a kid. I think it was just one dressed like. And the other one was some kind of princess thing. It was a dude, but it was a very gender fluid looking dude who could pass for a woman if he was in a just slightly dimly lit nightclub or something. He could do the Lancer from Robotech thing, and no one would be convinced it was except for his voice that he was a dude, but he could pass for a lady. Which a dude looks like a lady. And that old song back in the day. And he was there today too, and he was dressed as Wonder Woman this time. He again didn't want any pictures taken of him, but briefly you can see him walking by. And his voice is a little lower than mine, which made it hilarious and awesome at the same time. Maybe he's doing it on a dare. They also, I also mentioned that somebody wanted to know where the protesters had gone. The video, Cowpoke mentions it, or Kirk, I guess. It's playing Kirk Trekkie-O, basically Trekkie-O Kirk. So it was Trekkie-O, Kal Kat, straight up Trekkie-O. At times he might have been kind of the Billy Allen character a little bit because he references Shubalaffa and Fuzzy Face. That's the same guy. Whereas Silly Kelly is a Kal Kat and MC Kim thing. And Silly Kelly, he was probably there too. But yeah. So there were also some other mentions. Well. Finally got around to putting this together. It is late. For the third act here. The fourth and final day will include the Eeyore costume and something else, because gotta have the Igor costume. That's gotta be you. 3 years ago, I picked that up, and after Fanime, I think it was in October during the lockdown, and I gotta wear this at some point. Or I think it was before the lockdown. Actually, it was like, yeah, it was 2019 in October. You know, when it was the Halloween thing with it. That's what it was. Halloween thing. Like the Chewbacca one from before. Which is basically... The Chewbacca one is actually supposed to look like this. But it then... Yeah. All made up. I couldn't find me any new ears. Sort of a beanie or something. I didn't really see anything that was worthy of Mark's cards necessarily. I'll have to look deeper tomorrow. Because I'm probably not going to leave the con center at all tomorrow because it's a holiday and there probably is nothing going to be open. This is the holiday, this Monday. So whatever the con has for food and stuff, it's going to have to be at the con. Because nothing's going to be open. And then, so, well, you can't sneak food in. I think they wouldn't be able to tell. So, yeah. Well, con. Okay, the slideshow has rendered. I've gone on for about 12 minutes for this segment here. And I think I'll save the commentary for the rest of it for the slideshow because they've pretty much recapped things. I guess I could go on a little bit more though. There were 2 other panels just to go on a little more. Let's see. I'll save this. Okay, I'm prepared to play Day 3, but I'm not going to do it yet. Okay, there was a panel on. Quite a few panels. So there's the Wario panel. We also had the... well, briefly there was mention of a panel that was a sort of a success panel, but in a, you know, in your apocalypse, but it became a success panel. Just, yeah. I guess, yeah, there was also some mystery concerning the panels and how they're done, how the Fanime approves of them. But some of that was revealed in the Transformers and the Robotech panel, the robot panel, robot or mecha, or the mechas make sense basically, kind of deal. Transformers and then mecha. It was at the artist alley, and that's where I got the artwork. And the Transformers panel, they briefly glossed over one of the things, which was Kiss players, because they 16 and they didn't want to go 16 and up. So there was there's rules. They can't like mention Rule 34 apparently now, which is odd because if it was after the later panels, they used to. I think they canceled them though. There was going to be like a Lolita panel later on in the evening after adult panel. They use that word and they don't mean the movie, the American movie or the book. They don't mean that. They're just saying titillating. Yeah, it wasn't going to have the movie in it. I keep saying that. So no, it didn't stay for anything like that. The Transformer thing's funny on its own because one of the legitimate Transformers series spin-offs had Breast Force and Breast Masters. After Headmasters and Target Masters, they had Breast Masters, which makes it sound like it's some kind of S&M thing. And that was where there was the kink panelist guy. No, there was nobody from the. There was mention of where did all the protest sign guys go? And I jokingly said that they all became furries because we converted them to furries, except for the one that was really really adamant. He became a kink. So yeah, and ironically he appeared at the convention, but not as a kink, but he was there. So. He wasn't really. He wasn't kinky. But yeah, there was some Transformers fans behind me who were very excited, who were a little special, and just a little bit. But yeah, and they were going on about the toys and stuff, and that's fine. And yeah, they were apparently from the Armada generation, so they're in their 20s. A little later, it was during the next one, the Mecha panel, that one of them made a joke about being boomer, even though the guy is not a boomer. The guy at the panel was also in his 20s, late 30s, early 20s, and he's not a boomer. He's a millennial, so I don't know what he's talking about. But yeah, the Mecha guy, the Mecha dude, yeah, anybody that's under 36 is a millennial. Anybody that's about 70 is the other thing. 70. So yeah. So the way that goes is the baby boomer. I know that they're being ironic. Millennials got to say "okay, boomer" to their parents, but even the millennials should realize that that's their grandparents that are boomers. Really, if they're being ironic, then fine. But yeah. So the baby boomers are roughly 1945 to 1965. After World War II, and then on another 20 years. Then roughly 1965, 66 to 86, to 1986, there's your X generation. The X generation spinoff. 1986 to 2006 is your millennials. Those late 80s, early millennials. Anybody that's into probably, yeah. Anybody that was born in 2006, of course, would have no clue as to they wouldn't have nostalgia for the Unicron trilogy, the Armada. Post-millennials are 2006 to 2026, and they have they are the post-millennials. They're second baby boomers. At the end of that, they're the second baby boomers, born during the pandemic. It's kind of. The Mecha guy was an ex-Marine from Iraq and Fallujah, and he said that they learned how to drive. Well, they told him, they assigned him to a truck. They had to teach him how to drive a big old transport truck. So yeah, he's talking about mechas and stuff, and different mecha that works and stuff. Left out Macross and Robotech, but briefly ran out of time and was going to mention it. No, I mentioned it to him afterward that it was odd that the one of the robots had a big gun and it had a giant laser scope, like a sniper scope sight on the gun. And although that's cool, for a robot that's got like internal cameras and heads-up display, as he pointed out, it would have cameras. It's just then why would it need the scope? It's got internal cameras. He was probably thinking, you guys aren't by chance Air Force, are you? No. Oh, but my father was Army Air Corps, World War II. He didn't say that, but it would have been funny if he did. Air Force. You guys are good. Because you'd figure if anybody invented space mecha for like tromping around, the Air Force would do it first, and then the Marines would get the heavy duty ones. Mecha. The Air Force would do it first. They'd try to make like mecha jets that would probably fall apart, and then the military would make helicopter ones, which would be incredibly complex. It isn't that we don't have drones already and stuff. I've seen that robotic it's a cop dog thing. Yeah, so they have that. I've seen those things. Interesting. So they're just shy of having RoboCops running around. Although not with a human brain inside them, because that doesn't make sense. Be like a pilot inside it. But how is a robot a drone or not? Is it technically a droid? Like, yeah, what is the lady in Ghost in the Shell technically? She's a droid technically. Anyway, but yeah, the also the open cockpits in the Matrix. You can get around to that. But yeah, you're mech. And the fact that a lot of that stuff does harken back to BattleTech and stuff like that. He's a younger guy, so he's probably not aware of all of that backstory. You can look that up. And wasn't interested in going there anyway, so that's fine. but yeah, a mecha battle suit thing is kind of silly, but we like it. So it's all a euphemism of Japanese imperialism and stuff, anyways. That's all that stuff is. Robotech is a war show about a military that's powerful, that has an unstoppable spaceship. Like, so does Gundam. So do a lot of them. It's a trope. If you have unstoppable robot warriors. I was one of the few people that actually played Mech Warrior, so when he mentioned Mech Warrior, he did. So yeah, I've played them. But he had played the online version. Yeah, I had the PC version of Mech Warrior. It was really, really hard on the final 2 levels. Technically didn't get to the final 2 levels. Had let my nephew Dan win it for me. But yes, but yeah, then the computer died. It's funny. But the online one is harder. So. Yeah, there's Mech Warrior. Anyway, so that wasn't what he was on about, though. He was talking about other things. It makes sense to have it did make sense that he said, why would a robot have a giant police gun, or even a giant gun in his hand? Why wouldn't it be mounted to his forearm or something? That makes more sense than him having to go through the trouble of grabbing a hold of a gun and holding it. And actually, melee combat, they wouldn't really fight each other with knives. That would make sense because they're robots. But it's supposed to look cool, so. Yeah, a knife or a dagger or a bayonet wouldn't really make sense with a giant robot. But a sword might. If you could have if the sword had some sort of ability to cut through metal, like you say. So okay, it's not a lightsaber because that doesn't exist, but rather the sword is so hot that it melts other metal. That'd be kind of cool. So energy sword. Still, it would be wouldn't it melt the sword eventually? Armor-piercing rounds. Robot. Oh, yeah, the robot that he picked for the awesome version of Robot was rather midriff heavy and bulky, and probably wouldn't be too effective running. It would be like a tank, legs. It wouldn't be really slow. Of course, sometimes they make those really spindly robots that are too weak and fragile and would fall apart. Really, a Veritech wouldn't really work, but we think it's fun. So. But maybe one of those Mac 10 or Mac 3s or the Spartan or the Excalibur, which look a lot like the ones in BattleTech and Mech Warrior, because they are basically taken from that design. Any short transformer that has basically guns and feet and goes is pretty much, yeah, same idea. Sure. Breast force. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the other thing. Okay, this is the Eeyore suit. It's now dirty and filthy. And this is the con swag of the Marks cards. And here's the some more dice. More dice. No. God damn it. Please. Okay, so this is a commentary track for the Fanime 2022 Fanime convention. Closing festivities. I did not go to the closing ceremonies. I didn't go to the opening ceremony either. But yeah, the recorded about 40 minutes on the cell phone of just walking around in there. Not sure why we had that much. Ran out of film, so I had to like fudge the last 2 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, showing an earlier scene, but later outside. In the slideshow. So we had 2 panels. There were 2 panels. There was one on your cosplay sketch. Apparently, they were cosplay sketch videographers, and they were famous on stuff like Twitch. I mean, it was Twitch. This is not YouTube. It was Twitch back in the day. And some of those other smaller ones. Instagram, Twitch, and stuff. I'm assuming that one of those is gone. So yeah, they can't be on Vine. I think Vine is gone. Yeah. But yeah, they do. When they mentioned Crunchyroll, which is sort of been bought out by Sony, so they were kind of knocking it. Other people were knocking it. These people liked it though. This is Kal Kat, the Kal Kat's turn. This is a continuation of behind the scenes this convention, the 4th day. They stopped recording, and then we did the slideshow, and then recording. So we went back. So here we are. Okay. Yeah. So here we have different dice. This is the Borealis dice and the Gemini dice. This is the Vortex dice and the Gemini dice again? No, wait. Oh, Nebula dice. So these are different dices for different games. I grabbed the 2 blue ones today, and the other ones at the bottom. And they are, I believe they're for various like fantasy role-playing Magic games and whatever. But I usually use them for they have the other dice that I've collected over the years in this candy bucket, and I usually use them for role-playing back in the day. A silly track. Some of these in here go back to high school. Some of them. Most of them are from college, though. Most of them are from college. So, yeah, these are from the California Club in the 2000s. A little after college, during second college. Oh, and here is a Facebook dice. A special secret dice. So what you do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in the box the way they are for now, so that they're together. But I'll probably mix them up later. So you have a role-playing game, like D&D or something, but in this case it's Star Trek and Transformers, and you make a completely random dice game of characters based entirely on that, and that's really cool. I remember one time back in the day, Disney Adventure. I went to Disneyland Adventure in '92. And Tim Cantrell and I played a bizarre adventure in which we did Star Trek versus Star Blazers, just for fun. So what happened if a Borg ship, the Enterprise D, in 1992, a Borg ship, the Enterprise D, and the Argo/Yamato got in a fight, space weapon fight thing. This is before Voyager, and basically the Yamato blew a hole through the Borg cube because we rolled the dice that almost destroyed it, and then the Enterprise D took on the Yamato, and because it had fired the wave motion gun, it needed to recharge, so the Enterprise D jacked it up. We didn't destroy it, says it. So here we have. Now the other shirt is the other one over there, but this is the Mark's Card swag, which says, "Don't give a fox. Give 0 fox." The play on words. It's not safe for work, but it is funny. And it has an adorable little fox. Oh my, an adorable little fox. And I believe the company, not sponsored by them or anything. Company, if you want to look it up, is T-Turtle. Turtle. Turtle. T-Turtle.com. So if you want to get a shirt from these guys, shout out. T-Turtle.com. Go get it. T-Turtle.com. So yeah. Fanime Con swag. We have no idea what next year's is going to be. Next year should be the Kal Kat show. And we have here we have the Con swag, the Fanime swag, and ironically Bon Appetit. I would say yeah. About half of it was Bon Appetit. Less than half of it. Here's my. I could have bought this one for Mark's Cards as well, but I think the other one says Mark's Cards more than this one. Although this one does too, but I may need it for later. See, he's an adventurer, and he's a panda, and he's looking for. He's looking to hoard his adventure stuff, so he can go on an adventure. Yes, so. Yes, so right on. Hoarder. That also describes it. But I think the other one's funnier. Yeah. It's more. It's con exclusive. It's only available at the conventions. So he hasn't been there, but he gets con swag. Con swag. This guy. Oh yeah, I walked by this guy with the Eeyore costume. Didn't get his attention. I was going to say, no, I totally did an Eeyore one too. No, I didn't. I could not get his attention. So I saw him again, but I don't think he saw me. Yeah, so anyway, I decided to get up and do get there. I'm not liking this blood orange candy bar anymore. I think I'm done with it. I think I'm going to sacrifice the rest of it. I did finally take the bracelet off for 3 days. Yeah, this thing was annoying. Chafing. Some people had a chafy thing to cover up the. I didn't. That I was vaccinated, so I didn't need to. All the Karen lady. There was a Karen lady over there. She needed to get a bracelet. Didn't want to go in. There was absolutely no angsty political people or anything like that. There were no protesters. There was nobody even. There was like one or two in the dealer's room there was like 1 or 2 parody Biden shirts, but they were stupid and no one bought them. There was no Trump ones, I could tell, because why would there be? But there was Biden ones. So yeah, con weekend pass. Doesn't have my Kal Kat name on it. There, I hang it up on the wall. No, it is hung up on the wall in the German way. Yes. Not really the German. I have no idea what that would be. It's perfection. Serbian ideal. No. Anyway, so. Yeah, so a convention that isn't already talked about. Oh, yeah, I'm mentioning the humor thing. The Ivan Reitman thing. What was going on there was that there was a panel about these costumers who were doing a... well, I already explained on the slideshow, so I don't need to explain that part here, but here's the part of that was going on about how they were master costume makers or the master sound designer guys, and they're going on about how things were set up for conventions, and how things were set up if you're going to do a sketch for costuming sketch. Now, that's not like the dance people, because that was way more extensive than a sketch. So it was like a 4-minute bit. That wasn't a sketch. It was a 4-minute like dance choreography, way different than that. So the choreography, they did a couple of other dances we didn't film. Other people inside the karaoke thing did other dances, but I did get that one outside. That was cool. And I did walk by where downstairs they had done the original the one. And to clarify, the original one, as I think I did yesterday, I didn't interrupt them. They were asking for people who wanted to jump in on the end of their dance party and on the end of their little dance circle and just jump in and do their own moves. So Kal Kat jumped in and did some freak dancing. Yeah, they were impressed, and the next year afterward they wanted to see him do it again, and he had a sore back, so he couldn't do it. Nah, I probably can't without doing it now. But yeah, but they remembered me. And oh, there he is. There's that guy from the two-rower thing. I wasn't, though. I explained to the fan that I was not one of the dancers. I was just, there. I just happened to know how to do it too, and I jumped in because they said, "Here, anybody jump in." And that'd be funny if these young millennial dudes were upstaged by the freak dancing Kal Kat, who was like probably old enough to be their dad. So that was funny. I did it anyway. but yeah, not this time. Not this time. I filmed it. Not this time. I said no, I could not. This time I would probably break something. But yeah, we didn't meet really anybody except the lady and the kid that had the Star Trek outfit. Hello, and then the other one that was a Dr. Crusher. That probably also had a kid somewhere in the convention. But yeah, so there was and there were the two people that were in the back with there was the 3 people. They were there. A guy and his buddies who were a little bit special that were in the Transformers panel. but yeah, I think anybody that goes to we're all special in the Transformers panel. So. But yes, so yeah, we're all definitely nerdy in there. Yeah, definitely. But yes, so bled over to the Roas Bill. So this time we had the costumer people going on about there were some novices, costume novices in the audience, asking how to go from costume novice to journeyman to apprentice to well, you got to go to apprentice first, right? Yeah, apprentice, journeyman, because Sister Ramona was a journeyman carpenter, but it's different in costuming than carpentry. Yeah, you have your novice, apprentice, journeyman. master. Train under the master. And then you do your masterpiece, which is your masterpiece is literally you recreate what the master did as your masterpiece. So if you can do the costume, then you've done it. Of course, all of the costumes that I've gotten to the convention were extremely novice, so I had nothing to say about that. I wanted to comment on comedy because they mentioned comedy and drama, but that passed, and it was like they gone into something else. So I figured I didn't need to mention that. But drama is said by Ivan Reitman. I think Ivan Reitman said it, but he was quoting Neil Simon, I believe, and he said that drama is extraordinary things happening to ordinary people. And comedy is ordinary things happening to extraordinary people, so they can take an ordinary moment and make it like extraordinary. So so you get like, okay, let's classic example. He was talking about Ghostbusters. His classic example, working schlubs. They're exterminators, basically, and the joke is to make them to make the situation extraordinary through extraordinary people. They're ghosts. They hunt ghosts because that's bizarre. Okay, there you go. That's comedy. Drama would be a drama version of that, where it's like dark and found footage or something. That wasn't what they were talking about, though. They were talking about costuming, how to do the costuming thing, get it right, do the volumes. The lady's husband, I'm assuming, was going on about how she had the costume and he was the husband. He was roped into being occasionally a guinea pig for the costume design. They were talking about this hilarious sketch they did, which I found, by the way. It's awesome. I found the sketch. I've seen it before, actually, it turns out. There's a sketch online of them doing a thing where there's a creature that's with them. And they dubbed in with using celery, like cracking celery to make it sound like bones cracking. And they had to redo it twice because apparently it didn't pick up on the Foleying. So, but they got it really well done, and the little creature is supposed to bite off the lady's head, and it's all really cool. It doesn't really, but it sounded like it. People were like, oh. Yeah, it was really awesome. Those little because you gotta hook the audience when you do a sketch, because usually it's about 2 minutes. Kind of like in commercials and advertising and stuff. But I did study advertising and, as sales tape. In journalism, we studied advertising and propaganda, all that stuff, and learned how that works. And, if your TV show doesn't hook you in the first 30 minutes for the ads, you're not hooked. So, the show's got to grab you. Like I was mentioning this during doing Transformer fan films. That some of the scripts that jumped out at me were the ones where something extraordinary, weird happened in the beginning to pull the drama in. There was one where the opening scene was the robot's body lie there in front of Autobot headquarters, and I said, "There's your hook. Why is there a dead robot there? Who put it there? There's your hook." As opposed to two Autobots are sitting watching the sunset. It's not interesting. Now, if two robots were watching the sunset and suddenly a meteor crashed near them, that would be a little different. Okay. Or they look up at the sunset and the sun's blood red. There you go. So that's just, I'm a storyteller. It's a story. Storyteller. Find stories. Put them there. It's not that hard to write a story, but it's hard to write a good story. I should totally do a panel. Mark Scards and I should do a panel. We'll try about what would make a good panel. And yeah, there's something like that. Just like half of it's Q&A on story, on fan fiction writing and stuff. I could just walk in and do that. Yeah. So yeah, how is my battery going dead? Well, I think I'm pretty much done with this anyway. But I can grab the other camera. Okay. Always be prepared for any contingency. The power cord, I plugged it in. Alright, so let's continue a little bit here with this. Yeah, so they were saying about the... Come on now. So they were saying that, yeah, they weren't saying this in the panel, but that's what I was thinking of my notes. And then afterwards, I got a call, and it was Mom and Martha complaining about something. And it completely ruined the mood, so there was no mood. Going to the next thing. So, art gallery, and then running around. So, I was briefly Eeyore earlier on for the first half of the day, roughly. Well, first half of the early part, the Eeyore. I had the Star Trek uniform when I came in, and immediately went into that dark area. Changed into the Eeyore, went upstairs. Did the walk through the house, trowel, and all that. Joked about how Christopher Robin was nuts and all the Angelica Woods was all. It's because there's a Winnie the Pooh horror movie coming out. Because DeMille's stuff is, public domain. No. But not the Disney version. Mine was the Disney version of Eeyore. So, Eeyore Union suit. So, but I did take that off because it was hot. And that was during the tea story after going to the art gallery in the dealer's room getting the dice. And so I think I got the dice later. And then I got the tea and the dice, and then went back to the panel. The one with the... Yeah. So by then, by the first panel at 11, I had already got the dice and the tea. And I think that's what happened. Yeah, something like that. It's a little out of order yesterday. But today it's a little more in order. So... I did some filming in the art gallery thing. Did I? Yeah, the tea was later. The tea was later. Yeah, so that was between panel 1 and 2. 2 was the second one. That was a tea. So I had the Eeyore suit through the first panel, and then went. Yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, I had it on in that one. Didn't have it on in the second one. So no. Wait a minute. The first panel was 11. No, the Eeyore suit was off by then. Yeah, but the first panel. Because, yeah, I wasn't wearing that when I was in the costuming panel. I was wearing the Star Trek outfit. Yeah, I remember that. Again, Star Trek outfit went back on. The Voyager outfit's got kind of ratty. Got to get a new one. Got to get a different one. See, I couldn't enter a costuming contest because I would buy the costume somewhere. Like the 2009 one is from a Spencer Gift. It's like I didn't make that, I bought it, so I can't really say like I wouldn't be in a costuming contest. That wouldn't be fair. It was like no, I'd just pay whoever made this costume for me. No, I couldn't do any of that stuff. But it isn't that I haven't made a costume. Many years ago, when I was 16, I did make a full-on Thundercracker costume. Out of cardboard. I made a Thundercracker Transformer costume. Per Pine Hill era, high school era. My dad helped me build it. It had a blinking, working pager light laser thing with a laser flashlight on the end of it. It had a beeper. I think you could press the beeper, it would make a noise, and then the laser would go on. It was very elaborate. Yeah. So. And there was this cheap haunted house that we had in high school, and yeah, I kept scaring people with the Thundercracker thing because it had fake guns, which you only get away with back then in the 80s. They weren't real; they were cardboard. But yeah, but they beeped and lights came on. So, somebody was gonna do a jump scare on me. I think it was Marty, one of them guys, and I was like, cannon. He's gonna do a jump scare. And I blasted him. Well, not really, but I pretended to. No! Oh, now I'm scared. Oh. Ran away. Oh. Tim was all like, oh, that was pretty funny. Yeah, I would do that next year. Oh. He never did. Yeah, he never did a Transformer. I think he did like a magician guy once. Dracula guy once. He did a G-Man one year. It was kind of funny. He had Megatron for the gun. That Megatron pistol toy. Like a pre-X-Files G-Man guy. Probably thinking of... I don't know if he was thinking of Men in Black. I think it was, yeah. That would have been right. Oh, about right. So yeah. As for costuming, the stories many years ago at Baycon, they were full Ghostbusters regalia, and I've been over that story where they had a panel and they the Ghost Hunters panel guy chickened out or left or didn't show up. And Brian's story's all, I'll do that panel. So we're like, oh, cool. So I ended up I was on a panel. Baycon. I was there. That was cool. I was like, this is interesting. Yeah. I'm not qualified. No. If it was fan films, though, I would be. I could say, okay, fan films, yeah. Absolutely. I've done, during the pandemic, I did hours of Transformer movies. I did a full-on animated action figure Transformer movies based on other Transformers Mush stuff. Yeah, there was 17 hours of the first one, and there was another 11 hours of season 2. And now we're into season 3. And it looks like to be another 8 or 9. So, we'll see. Yeah, so we did a pilot for that. That's already out. And the Starship Locations meets the Transformers is just for fun. It's in between. I've done Star Trek Location Strange New Worlds, Strange Worlds Parts 1 and 2, as well as Starship Chimera with Mark's Cards, the 2019 one. So yeah, and fan films were overqualified to a pan. And fan, so like those are fan films that we did. And like many of the other fan film people, we would be like, well, we're not going to actually show footage from our stuff because that would just like... but you're welcome to go into the website and watch it. The other panel was at 1, and it was sports, extreme sports in anime, by a guy whose voice was cracking and getting low and monotone because he'd been doing it for 20 hours. Oh boy, 20 hours of panels now. 1 or 2 hours is fine. 20 is a little much. But yeah, so forgive his voice for sounding like that, because yeah, he sounded special, but it was because his voice was messed up, and he's trying to go through different things. The panel, as a slight critique of panels, I've only done once. He needed to actually show of images, if he could find them, of these different sports. That would have helped tremendously. Not just saying, oh, let's do a volleyball one, or let's do a BMX one. Show that. Get some... I guess they couldn't get images because Crunchyroll went under, replaced by Sony, and they couldn't get images. But I think to a certain extent they could show them at a con, though. I wouldn't think that would break any rules, because you're just saying, okay, I'm reviewing this. So I think you can get away with that, because, yeah, you're basically saying this is a parody, transitive work, or review. You know, the journalism background. So you can just say, okay, I'm going to show even a clip of something, a minute, 30-second clip of something, or a picture. You can show the clip. I think you can do that, and just say, okay, this isn't mine. Here's Getty Images or whatever, and here's a sport, extreme sport, a luge, wearing bunny suits or something, or here's a picture of that. Maybe he couldn't find that. But that would have helped. That would have helped it tremendously. Especially after being monotone for a while. Because that's kind of what those guys did with the Wario panel. Is they had a lot of illustrations from other stuff. Mainly they claimed ex-deviant art accounts. So I think those are parody and fair use too. I think I think they are. Yeah, they're there. I have a DeviantArt article. I already did. It's still floating around. It doesn't have anything on it. It has some Veritex, Robotech that I painted. That's about it. And a weird kitty. It has the Weird Kitty 07 logo from SAP was on there. I think still on there. I think there's a Carta, General Lee on there too. I think. But someone did a thing of someone did a toy of that based on that artwork. So. That's cool. You go look that up. Generally Transformer. They saw my artwork and they said I'm going to do a toy. They did a little animation with a little. They took a bumblebee and they modified it to look like generally. I was not involved, but they were inspired by the art. Anyway, so or some similar. So there were other ones. So that was funny. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know a lot of those new animes. Right? I don't know a lot of what they were doing, but I bet a lot of the other ones didn't too, because they often would mention the costuming one and the other ones would bring up different animes that the people in the crowd didn't hear of, heard of. So they weren't all together knowledgeable on all animes either. Yeah, so so yeah, the millennials and all this other stuff. No more comments about boomers. I think they were being ironic. They're saying, "Hey, okay, boomer," even though none of them were boomers. I think they were just being ironic. Okay, old man. I think that's what they were doing. Yeah, and so we have, yeah, the whole nutshell, the whole thing. Yeah, it was called Bon Appetit. There were people lined up to get the food, but most of them went outside the convention to find food, including the donut cart. No, not the donut. There weren't any donuts. The hot dog carts that were on the street. The street vendors were out there. That probably made them sick too. I didn't want to go near those street cart vendors. But yeah, there were. I didn't get sick, but I didn't want to. But yeah, there was a little taco stand. It was kind of gross. But then I chased it with Burritozilla, which could have been a mistake, but Burritozilla actually didn't do much of anything to me, so I was okay with it. Little gas, but it was about it. But yeah, there's not a lot around the con afterward. You can't bring food into the con. They won't let you do that. They don't check your bags though, but I didn't do it. But so yeah, they used to check the bags on the conveyor and scan them through the bag. They didn't do that this time. So yeah, so it's kind of wacky and weird. Yeah, and everyone's back. Everybody's in a mask. In some of the earlier Fanimes, there were some of the Japanese would wear the mask. They wear a mask to cover their face because the con plague. Now that there actually was a real plague, everybody had a mask. So, except for that cartoon character that said, "Wear your mask," and he wasn't wearing one. So, I don't know. I forgot. You have to put a mask on the cartoon character. Somebody should have got a Sharpie and drawn creatively. There was one artist guy in the back that had like a sketchbook and stuff, and a lot of other cool stuff. And he was saying he had carpal tunnel syndrome from doing so much art. And that's kind of the problem with like doing a lot of major artsy. There's a lot of beautiful artsy things in the art gallery and in the show. A lot of great art for it. But they mentioned that it's hard on your hands to do all that stuff. One time I attempted early on in the stages of Big Wow to attempt to update my infamous Evergreen College Captain Estrogen comic strip. There were four issues of the comic strip. It was just 4 issues, and I wanted to update the 4 issues because it was 4 issues and each was 4 panels, so it was like 12. It was like a page. I figured, oh, no problem, I could totally update this and do a thing. I could totally do a comic strip, yeah, just a comic strip. I got past 2 panels of it and I was like, no, I can't really do a comic strip out of this. It was so obsessing over like making the first 2 panels look good that I got tired of doing the rest of it. So it's like this really nice looking lizard guy and he's like gonna do something, but we don't know what. Never got around to it. So it's like, yeah, the trick to and then I learned this later after our classes, after all of this stuff. Yeah, you don't draw every little detail first. You just draw the overall picture and the overall form of it. Then you go back and you trace over the form and you draw the picture and the details. Don't do it all at once, because then you'll never get it done. But no, not going to do any comic book artists. My stuff is pretty much portrait, I would say. Portrait and visual and medium thing, with this goofy Star Wars action figure thing over here. Look at this. This is from 2019. Yeah. Actually from Comic-Con. That actually is me standing near there was like an action figure booth. There's like 7 pictures of different characters that I was standing at the booth, but that was the good one out of all 7 of them. And that was the one they used in briefly in Star Wars 2019. No, they didn't use it in the 2019. They saved it, and they used it in The Mandalorian. That wasn't in 2019. They didn't end up using it. They used somebody similar to it. The Kevin Smith part, Mandalorian. He shows up in the scene on the pirate planet. Yeah, it's not me playing him, but somebody inspired by. So yeah, Mando. Anyway, so yeah, that'll get flagged on YouTube. Yeah, so. And that's the Star Trek cadets from the church thing next to it. Sure. Yeah, I got like a. Back to the set, and what was that? I'll shave it. Yeah, so yeah, there's nothing pressing except starting on episode 2 of the Transformers lexicons. The latest version is named after the lexicon website, not after a person. A lexicon website. It is not a domain that they're using in the mush, so cool. I can use it. And I couldn't find a Transformer equivalent to the Artemis god character from the story. However, including Artemis herself would be problematic in the story, because then you'd really have to pay homage to the actor. And like what we did for when I adapted the Rob Powers story, I changed the names. So I can change the name. Probably should. And the character in the name is changed to something else. And then it can appear. And since it kind of went there with the pilot, I can change the name to the character on the pilot. I could do that. That'd be interesting. Yeah, like Chassis just becomes hers. Maybe not. We'll see. I'll come up with something. It's not imperative that I come up with something immediately. So. Anyway, so this is that was my review of Comic-Con. Yeah, and the other guy at the other panel. The other panel, yeah, it had issues with, 20 hours later. He ran out of ideas. But yeah, yeah, I probably would too after 20 hours of that. How did he do 20 hours of that, though? Because we were there the whole... was he saying he was talking the entire time? Yeah, it doesn't wash. I don't know. Maybe it was more like 10 hours. He just thought it was 20. 10 hours makes more sense. Because was he on the talk the whole time? No. Was he somewhere... Well, maybe he just chats constantly. Oh, I'm not saying he didn't. He could have talked constantly. But yeah. So, I won't say who it is. So I won't know. I don't know him. Probably couldn't have done better after all that either. So, but yeah, I would have done something different, just because I do like the idea of Q&As and stuff. I do like how the Channel Awesome did it in 2017. They were there at Fanime. They can come back if they want to, by the way. We're okay with having Channel Awesome return. And even X1's return. Maybe they can have a rap battle or something. Yes. Also, they should get Lindsay Ellis to come back. Some other people. I don't think she's ever been, so she should go. Yes. I think the Angry Video Game Nerd was there once, but yes, we missed him. But yes, but not this time. Not this time. He wasn't there. Yeah, nobody really like. Although I did go to two of the. There was the main lady, the Xavier Hong, I think. I went to one of hers. Yeah, and I did briefly see the beginning of the other guy. There was like this other panel that I walked into. One of the other main guests was in there, and I walked out because I wanted to go to the other panel instead. Yeah, it wasn't very interesting. It was something about success or something. Apocalypse was another guest, and I was like, it was boring, so I went to the other panel. That was yesterday. Yeah. I think the trick with you always run into the notion of and I'm rambling, but it's okay if I ramble. It's my own stuff. The notion of like doing a con thing, and there's always going to be or inevitable somebody's going to ask, how do you get into the business and stuff, and how do you start out and stuff, and usually the panelists don't know except that they did, you know. Some of the panelists gave good advice, like that Xavier, who was like, well, you have to have an agent, and you have to have, you know, your voice work or whatever. You can be an agent. You know, you can't be like, Kal Kat, you know, who is his own agent. You can't do that. That just doesn't make sense. Yeah. So we need to have Mark's cards at these conventions, because then you know he's, you know, in terms of the other half, the other the other show was speaking of the other show, you know, it was like it's like, yeah, she was the lady who was talking about the costuming was saying that she's the more anxious one, anxious, hyper one, and her husband is the more calm, collected one in their cast. The Kal Kat Mark's cards dynamic is similar to that. And that Kal Kat is the more hyperactive, nervous one. Mark Cards is the more, I guess, grounded, but also kind of slightly more disenfranchised and uninterested in people. Kal Kat is more interested in people. So Kal Kat would be like, I gotta fix these things and make these things look good because they're more, more autistic. They're Asperger's. Mark's Cards is more ADD. He'll think of a story and not get quite through it, and I'll be like, no, you have to set up the beginning, the middle, the end. You can start with the ending, but you have to start at the beginning, the middle, the end, and get to the whole sketch, and then do the sketch, get it done. Go get the sketch done, put it together. Do the fan film, get that done. All during the pandemic thing is like, I was like, well, I'm not just gonna stay. It's cool that I get to be like indoors and not go out much, because it's like during the pandemic. I'll just do my fan movies. Like, I'll do Starship Locations, and I'll do Transformers Mush full time for like years. Because Kal Kat, it's interesting because like Mark's Cards doesn't like being around people, but has to. Let's go on into the workforce and be around people. Kal Kat likes people, but would prefer not to, and to be like, oh, I just want to stay there and like have like, oh, I'll just have my own little fan film thing and just stay there and do my fan films and the Transformers, my different Transformer voices, like a Mel Blanc kind of thing, deal, just doing a Transformer various voices. That's all I want to do. That's kind of the opposite. But if we ever did, like, okay, what's your ideal costuming thing? I'm thinking about, what's your ideal costuming thing? If you could totally do it and pull it off, I would do another Transformer costume. it would probably be Optimus Prime, or maybe another one of the jets. Maybe I'd do Thundercracker again, and I would have like there'd be Starscream, and Mark's cards would be another Transformer. Maybe he'd be Megatron, or maybe he'd be Bumblebee or something, just to be funny. And you have Optimus Prime and Bumblebee done in the full mecha outfits, like full thing done in cardboard. It'd be lightweight. It has to be like 30 pounds roughly for each. Yeah, and then we'd come out and do the whole thing, and then we'd have to have spotters and stuff. Come out, decked out in the Transformer stuff, lights, LEDs everywhere, flashy things, flashy outfit, like, I am Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. And they would go, like, cool. You got Megatron. Optimus Prime. And we'd do a choreographed, like, space battle. And we'd make the pew-pew noise as well. And we'd also do it manga style. It would be awesome. This is my ideal costuming sketch. See? That's what I would do. And do it manga style. Like, it would be, like, reminiscent of the Transformers. It would be during the panel, right? no, it'd be after the panel. Yeah. Just do Optimus Prime sketch, and then like we do a space battle, like, and we'd of course have the Japanese manga version of Transformers sounds. So we'd have like them going, Optimus Prime, prepare to fire cannon. Megatron, prepare to fire cannon. Percussion blast. They'd be telling each other what they're doing. I think they would think that was great. They'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Yes. And if I was going to do a Star Trek one, classic Trek, I, of course, would be Captain Kirk. And Mark's cards would be McCoy. Right down the corridor. Decked out in G1, Generation 1 Star Trek outfits. And imitates a KS story. Almost going there, but not quite. Because, no, we really don't want to, like, have people filming us, like doing something like that. But it would be funny. Spock, Doctor, I love you. Yes. But, yeah, it would be funny, too. But Spock is his only love, so, oh my. But yes, no, we wouldn't do that. But if we could get a third person, then we could do Spock, Kirk, and Bones doing the old Silly Trek sketch about where he basically, Spock admits that he wants Kirk, and McCoy tells him that he can, but he has to join him. That's the joke. But yes, so, well, you know, those two want to join each other. Now it's Spock, the green-blooded Vulcan. Now, if we could just rook Tim Cantrell into showing up at one of these with us, he could play. Who would he play? McCoy. Play McCoy in that case. Or maybe he'd play Kirk in that case, and I would play Spock. That's probably what would happen. He'd play Kirk. I'd play Spock. And then we'd have like, okay, all right, that works. But no, I don't think he'd go for that at all. No. The Transformer thing is cooler. You go for the Transformer thing. Okay, Tim, we're going to dress you up as Grimlock. Have you walk in. Like, Grimlock, me Grimlock. Oh, that's cool. I'll do it. Yeah. Whoa. Grimlock. Then we could do a grappling wrestling thing and your stuff will fall off. You could only do the sketch once because your costume would be destroyed. Yes. But yeah, we're not much on building costumes these days. That was no. But yeah, if you're gonna do silly sports and Transformers, you probably want to do silly sports. Also, I said something about the. Yeah, I'm railing. It's fine. It's fine. Talking about con stuff that I want to do, but sure. I add stuff to the end of these things. I was like, yeah, this would be doing in a panel. I'd be just shooting the shit. Be like, yeah, this would be cool. And I would ask them. I'd have the people line up, and I'd say, like, okay, what do you want to do? You know, the floor is open. If you had your ultimate costume thing, what would you do? And somebody's going to inevitably say, what if I had to run, Ma, and have or something? It's like, okay, the PG-13 there, buddy. No, that's not going to happen. Okay. Bunny lady. Bunny lady might happen. Yeah. Yep. So, wrong Bob. I've just pulled out a name. I have no clue what, but yes, it's kind of the problem with Fanime stuff, you know, which would help tremendously. The story couples would show up, because then they could say like, okay, that's one of those, and yeah, that's from this other anime over there, and there's a whole lot of Kenshis here for some reason. Not sure what's going on there. They really like that show. Oh, there was a red, the costume Red Panda of the Red Panda from the joke scene in Turning Red. There was somebody dressed as the costume version, which is it's just creative. The clunky cardboard version. Like, oh, okay, that works. That works. So yeah, there's a lot of them worked. A lot of the costumes were very, very cool. I did a lot of work on them. Some people lost horns and things. Some people lost ears. I lost ears. Somebody was sympathetic to this. The lady said, I lost a horn on my costume. This lady's horn fell off. She didn't know where it went. So it was like this. It was like, yeah, like a Venture and Dungeons and Dragons. Lost my horn. It's gone. Because when it gets real crowded, like when they're at the art gallery or whatever, everybody's like really, really close, and like they were like knocking stuff off of costumes with wings or whatever. It would suck. Like half your costume falls off and you don't notice. It was hot glued on. I'll never find it again. No. So yeah, I can understand that. But yeah, having worn the Chewbacca Wookiee Union suit with the ears, and then Eeyore. The Eeyore one was a little less hot, but the Chewbacca one was ridiculously hot. It was a little less hot for the other one, so that lasted about 2 hours. But the other one lasted an hour and a half, maybe. I took that thing off. But that one was a little better. That one was not. That was not as hot. That was ridiculous. So yeah, yeah, the furries, transrespectful furries that wear the whole gear, the helmets, and all that stuff. Oh my God, they must be boiling in those things. Yes. It'd be really, really hot in those things. Imagine if they went outside. Like sometimes they could be really, really hot. I didn't see the fox girl from My Hero Academia this time. Maybe she's dressed like someone else. Maybe she died. That would suck. Maybe the COVID got her. But yeah, no, she might have been somebody else. Let's hope she was somebody else. But yeah, the Hero Academia fox, yeah. That I thought was something else. But there was a Star Fox, but I didn't get a picture of it. That might have been her. And there was a Carmen Rider, too. I know that. I know Carmen Rider. Ew. It was sort of like you know any anime at all? And I was like, well, there's some Pokemon over there. Know that. Well, yeah, that's pretty common. There were some Pokemon. I didn't see those. Invented by a guy that's autistic. He makes a tuck ton of money now. Oh my gosh. They're very high functioning though. Very detailed. Super detailed. Into the whole thing. Yeah, so Asperger's, autism complements ADD because I see all the little details everywhere. But this little detail together, that little detail together, big thing. The ADD person is like, I've written a sentence, but I've forgotten the rest. I don't know what the rest of the story goes. So figure it out. Oh, well, here's where you're going to go from there. Right. kind of like that. The big picture, but not the whole. I've got this idea for this big story of elaborate characters. And it's been all we doing, big elaborate character. Yeah, but then what? Oh yeah. Okay, let's do that one. Let's see what he does from there. Blood red sun with the mirrors coming down. Yeah. Or as Mark's Cards discovered in one of his later writing classes, San Jose State in the 22,000 to 2200s, don't use Twilight because it's been done. There was a title, he used Twilight and Sea of Bones. Everyone in the class thought he was talking about the Twilight movie that just came out. He had no idea. He had no idea there was a movie even. Twilight. It was that's Twilight. They're going to confuse that, even if it has nothing to do with that. Even if it's about a lizard lady and a lizard dude is a scientist on a planet looking for bones. That's what it was about. And with his scientist friend planet, they were more than friends. But yes, they were going to get to that. It was going to be a slash story. They were going to get to that, but no, it wasn't Twilight at all. It was just called that because on the planet it was Twilight. It was like a planet orbiting a red giant or something. You're a black hole, so a red star, I guess a red dwarf, and so it had like a perimeter that was in light and shadow, perimeter. Anyway, so Twilight. Anyway, that is Fanime Con 2022. Yeah, but yes, it wasn't about Twilight. There was somebody. There was no, that wasn't a Twilight person either. The Apple person is from something else. It's from something else, yes.